Let each of us, if you're able to stand and send an unmistakable signal to the world of Ukraine. Thank you.
President Biden, during his State of the Union address tonight, leading a standing ovation for the people of Ukraine, represented in that chamber tonight by the First Lady's guest, Ukraine's ambassador to the United States, who sat with First Lady Jill Biden tonight. Here's some images you should just take a look at of people in Kyiv, in Ukraine's capital. Look at this. A boy practicing with a rifle outside his home as his mother looks on. This group of 4 women, including a teacher in the center there who is crying as she waits to deploy with the Ukrainian military. This group of men getting a briefing before they go out to join the fight. All these pictures were taken by an award-winning American photojournalist named Lindsay Addario, who's covered war zones for 20 years now. Right now, she's in Ukraine. She's documenting the conflict for the New York Times. And she joins us live now from Kyiv, where we're just coming up on 7 a.m. Lindsay Addario, thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
I know that you have experience covering wars and war zones for more than 20 years. Are there misconceptions that you think the American public has about what's happening in Ukraine? Are there things that you think we are either misunderstanding or just not seeing yet that you think we should know?
I think this is actually one of the rare cases where there are not misconceptions. I think in many of the wars I've covered, war can be raging in one part of the city, but life goes on in the other part of the city. That was common in Baghdad and Afghanistan and in many of the wars I've covered. Here, actually, it's pretty grim. People are really preparing for the worst. There are lines at grocery stores. People are not panicking, but there are lines everywhere. ATMs, pharmacies, people are trying to stock up because no one really knows what will happen.
I think the thing that has been so moving to people around the world, particularly to the American readers of the New York Times, is your photos showing regular Ukrainians, civilians, people who've never thought of themselves as fighters, transforming themselves in this moment of crisis into soldiers, into warriors for their country. I have to ask about what it's like to document that. This is not soldiers against soldiers. It's not the Ukrainian army versus the Russian army that you are showing us in these images so much as it is the Russian army bearing down on school teachers and kids and moms.
Yeah, I mean, for me, war has always been about the civilian toll. It's always been about the effect that war has on women and children and people who are not fighting. I think that's the most important because they are always, pretty often the biggest casualty of war. So for me, something like Julia, this teacher, we saw her from a distance. We were trying to get access to this volunteer base. Everything is very tense. It's very hard to get access to every single one of these photos because people are suspicious. They're worried about who we are. Are there infiltrators amongst us? And so we finally got access and entered this van, and I started talking to her. Along with Andriy, who is working with me as a videographer and a fixer and a translator. And suddenly I realized she was crying. And there are moments when I'm photographing where I'm doing my job and I'm so focused and I'm trying to focus on getting a picture and doing a composition. But then I realized these are people fighting for their country. They are people who are leaving everything they have and going to fight. And that says a lot.
I wanted to ask you about a photo that you took that was on the front page of the New York Times today. It shows mothers holding their kids in a shelter inside a hospital in Kyiv. What can you tell us about the context of that shot today, how those moms and kids are doing, what was going through your mind when you took that remarkable image? Again, it's on the front page of the Times today.
I mean, what I'm witnessing is this incredible resilience, and people are just sort of resigned to the fact that this is what's happening. They've gone down. You have all of these mothers. There are maybe 24 mothers who have shifted down into a shelter beneath the hospital, a children's hospital here in Kyiv. And they're just continuing to sterilize bottles, take care of their children, trying to stop them from crying, everything that any mother like myself has dealt with in the comfort of our own homes. They're doing it in a basement. And, you know, I don't see anyone complaining. No one is complaining. People are really just trying to band together and move on. And it's just really heartbreaking.
Photojournalist Lindsay Addario, live from Kyiv, where we're coming up on 7 a.m., the sixth day of this war. Lindsay, you are doing a huge public service, and I know you're doing it at personal risk. Please stay safe. Thank you for being with us tonight.